Am I here? Can people hear me? I can't hear anybody else.
No one's talking, but everyone seems to be here. We were talking before. Does everyone want to check their mic?
Yeah, if you want to check your mics, we'll be starting in a couple of minutes.
Check, check.
Okay. And can I get from this screen, like, can I leave this meeting screen and still be here? Yeah, okay, that's working. All right. Sorry, I don't really do a lot of video communication, so.
Sabrina, are we turning on our cameras or what are we doing?
Not yet. We are gonna start in 2 minutes, and I'll probably just like let you know how we're doing that. I'm finished posting everything, so give me a couple minutes, please.
So some development, and I will share this, publicly too. Pierce has been talking to me while we've been having this meeting because he has obviously been communicating with Nico as he was talking to us as well.
Sorry, Zach. We're actually transmitting this live right now. I don't know if the guys told you, but the idea is to
right. That's to make this working.
We'll wait until it's exactly the time, and actually we should allow a bit more time for people to join the live stream, and we'll start so that you don't start now because it's not time yet. So, and this is live and it's being recorded. FYI, I don't know if you got the message from Zoom.
Sure, sounds good.
Cool. Thanks. Okay, guys, so I think everything's working. I just posted on social media. We are sending an email blast in a second, but people should be able to start joining on YouTube. There's only 6 people watching right now, so I'd suggest that we wait a little bit longer, or I don't know if you want to use this time to introduce everyone, that can also work. Hey guys, so emails have been sent with the link. The website is updated. So social media as well. So if you want to go ahead, like we don't have a lot of people watching the live stream right now, but obviously they'll be able to watch it later on. So you can go ahead and start if you wish.
Okay, so we are now, hopefully our live streaming is working properly. I'm trying to find, is there somewhere where people who are watching can ask questions? Is there will those appear in the chat?
No, they will appear in our YouTube chat, but I'm checking that. So if you later on want to know, if people ask any questions, I can present them to you.
Okay, and then how do, can I open that in another window? Is that possible? Because I want to be able to address questions at the appropriate time, if that's doable.
But what kind of window do you mean?
I don't know. It's like, give me the link to open another window with where I can see the comments.
Oh yeah, I'll send it to you on our chat.
Thank you. Will those comments be on YouTube?
Yeah, exactly. That's how it's always been done until now, at least. And yeah, I was obviously in charge of checking them and sending them. I can put them in the chat here. That's also.
No, that's okay. I should be able to monitor. Okay, here we go. Here we got a chat. Fantastic.
You might have a problem if you're using the same device with the audio, though. So keep that in mind.
Okay, fabulous. All right, so with that in mind, sorry everybody who is showing up at the General Assembly. I am in the cab of my truck in front of a veterinary hospital. Not exactly where I expected to be today, but luckily they have guest Wi-Fi that I have logged onto before. So anyway, welcome all to this extraordinary General Assembly of the IDF. I am the acting president. I'm Zach Madem. For those who don't know me, I have served on 2 IDF boards. I've been a career skateboard racer for, I don't know, 12 years. And at this time, I was the best person to hold this position, at least for the time being. So the purpose of this assembly has been in kind of a state of flux for the last little while, mostly based on the general nature of the organization as a whole and its legal status within the countries where it does and possibly does not exist. I would like to begin by saying that my true purpose in this meeting is to provide the membership with as clear a picture as I am capable of providing of the current status of this organization, how it came to be the way it is today, and how we would like to be helpful in seeing it go forwards, or to what end is best in terms of how the membership sees the organization existing. So first and foremost, as I think is warranted, I would like to fully and completely acknowledge any and all completely justified criticism of this board and how this organization has been conducted up until this time. Clearly, we entered into a situation that we were woefully unprepared for. It was failed to be successfully impressed upon us the significance and severity of the situation regarding the move of the organization from France to Switzerland. And we were left with an impression that we failed to pursue adequately, that it was not that big of a deal, and that we could kind of allow it to develop in due time, and that it was some minor procedural stuff to finalize the switchover. We did attempt to seek legal counsel, but we were at numerous occasions recommended not to do so, that it was just not necessary. And as a result, it has been far too long and a far too great breadth of time that we have been operating in a ambiguous state of legitimacy and clear definition. So at this time, I need to acknowledge that myself and any and all members of the current board share equally in the responsibility for not taking the due diligence necessary in due time to rectify those discrepancies. So that has been the main focus of our time together in the last few months, with the help of Nicholas, whose last name I will not attempt to pronounce, but I think you know who he is. He has a wealth of information from his time leading a Swiss sport federation, and with his experiences related to that. And we were under the impression that we were coming here today with a very different goal than possibly the one that we are going to leave with. But I want to create a space here today to receive any criticism from the members that you feel to be justified, and that we will gladly accept it, because we are absolutely willing to do so. And that it must be known that our genuine goal at this time is not to hold on to any seats of power. I don't think really any of us, except for maybe Hop, want to go forward with any involvement with legislation in this organization. And to those of you who were hoping that we would have all resigned by today, if we had been informed that we were expected to do so, we may have done so. Anyway, what we are here to present today is, we will make these as would have been in keeping with a General Assembly normal to the way this organization is supposed to function, or at least we think it's supposed to function. We are happy to present our financial documents that are relevant to our operation. We are happy to answer any questions about those. And at this time, the organization is in a little bit of a state of peril based on, like I said, the lack of clear legitimacy and positioning within the law in Switzerland or potentially in France, as we are under the impression presently that the organization was neither formed properly in Switzerland nor properly dissolved in France. At this time, some members have brought to me that there is some desire within the membership to dissolve this organization and reform it under new status with a new coalition of potential leaders, none of whom have been named to me. I would love to recommend them to you, but that information has not been provided at this time. If you are one of those people, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to discuss with you how to facilitate any kind of transfer of power. We thought we were going to be doing that today, but as a result, no one, we actually had one candidate for the board, but not enough to fill a board. So it was not going to seem to be reasonable for us to resign today. But I personally intend to resign from this position as quickly as possible once I feel that I can do so in a responsible fashion. So as of today, we will not be calling for the dissolution of this organization today, but as soon as we are able to retain a legal counsel, which we may be able to do for free in Switzerland, or if we have to allocate funds, we will use the minimum amount possible to make sure that we do this by the book, because that has been the main criticism from our Swiss advisor thus far of our conduct, is that we have not failed to organize ourselves in accordance with the articles of our association, whether through willful ignorance or negligence is beside the point. At this time, we aim to retain a legal counsel to make sure that we act as properly as possible going forward with either a transition of power within this organization to new individuals, or to dissolve it in the most reasonable and safe way possible in terms of protection of the assets and the membership. I understand that there's also a possibility of a merger with a different organization if one were to be available and interested. All of those things can and will be explored, but I implore anyone who wishes to be a part of that process to please reach out. And if you are unwilling to work with us, I really don't know how to help you, because we need a little bit of help in figuring out how to remove ourselves from this situation. So like I said, I completely understand and accept any responsibility and criticism for the lack of transparency, lack of communication, and general lack of action of this board over the last 18 months. And I am personally sorry for my part in that. Like I said, if I had known that this was the task that I was being elected to perform, I would have chosen not to run, not simply because it's not particularly enjoyable, but because I am specifically unqualified. And I think many of us may have said the same. So I hope that the following people who may run an organization like this, or this organization after us, believe themselves to be qualified or are prepared to seek adequate counsel to do so. But that will not be my problem. Anyway, at this time, let me check back on the YouTube comments, because that's on a different page for me. I apologize for my woeful, inadequate use of technology that is generally endemic to my existence. Okay, so let me see. I'm not going to throw this open to comment immediately. Right, so this, I do agree here in the comments, Chris McBride, a former IDF board member and someone who was on the original short list of names for potential new board members and people interested in helping. He says that dissolving the IDF most likely means losing all of its money. Dissolving isn't something to be taken lightly, and I agree. That's why, as we understand the law at this point, not to say that this is a fact, we have to motion for the dissolution of the organization, and we have to assign individuals who will be hopefully impartial in the appropriation of its existing assets. And that is not something that I am prepared to call for today without some idea of who those people that the assets are going to be handed over to are and their goals. That feels like a responsibility that I must take to the membership at this time, until I hear from more members and more potential people to receive these assets. And I agree, Barry, it is out of the control of anyone right now, but we are attempting to rectify this. Like I said, if our only motivation is our desire to no longer hold this power, that is a strong enough motivation for those on the board to work together and be hopefully as transparent as possible. You know, we intend to share a report after every meeting each week. Now we meet every week on Tuesdays for the conversations that we are having with councils and anyone who we are interested in talking to or is interested in talking with us. We really want to involve the membership as much as possible here, and we will be likely rolling out some polls or some opportunities for comment following this General Assembly, especially when people who are not here live have been able to watch it. Because, like I said, those of you who know me and those of you who don't, I guess I implore you to believe me when I say that I am not acting disingenuously here. I really want this organization to live if it is the right thing for it to do so. And if it's not, I want it to be dissolved responsibly and the assets passed to those who will hold them responsibly. And I am, myself and those on the board with me are completely interested in any of those courses of action. We are not trying to hold on to this. We are not trying to steer this in any particular direction. We want those who are excited about it to do with it what they will. So at this time, I want to invite any of the other board members to speak. And actually, Nicholas has his hand up. So I will ask, I will allow him to comment because he has something to say at first. But before you go, Nicholas, And then I would like to ask any other sitting board members if they would have any comments or they would like to share anything before we move on to a question and comment period. And we can discuss any particular issues from there on. Anyway, go ahead, Nicola.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the really good summary of the situation. I will raise the questions of how we arrived to talk about the dissolution of an association in Switzerland or anywhere. The first thing in the history, and indeed there's been a lot of debate, is the association has been fully formed in Switzerland and has been fully dissolved in France. It is always to discuss how you transfer members. Was it done in full transparency, meaning the best communication with the members? This is always a big question. What is for sure, I trust the previous boards to have done it in good faith. There were clear and urgent reasons to leave the French territory, and there are great qualities to the Swiss legislation to open an association there. The problem now is numerous. The first one, problems are numerous. In terms of dissolution, we have a problem with a membership list, and this is a problem that has been running for years. Not having an updated membership list means you don't know if you're inviting the right people to the party, and you don't know if some attending the party were really invited. That is critical. That is the role of the board, one of the primary role of the board to be maintained, and it hasn't been maintained for about a year. The second one is accountancy. This requires a treasurer and, in general, holding of minutes of every board meeting's decision regarding especially financials and any other critical decisions. In both cases, none of these positions have been filled by members of the board, and only by me as acting secretary, by Marcy as acting treasurer, accountant, but not elected from December, January, and myself as secretary about the same time. That's the second situation. And indeed, the fact is membership, because there are a number of people in the board. If you don't have, according to our statutes, at least 3 members of the board filling the 3 positions of president, secretary, and treasurer, automatically by law, the association has got to be dissolved and put into administration to a judge. The problem here, as mentioned, is why not go to an attorney? There are 2 reasons. The first reason is we definitely have a law in Switzerland and case laws that are extremely clear, and still the possibility, we are not bankrupt, we still have members. The association is not dead, it's just been through a very bad period with complete lack of management, and is now in a situation where it just can't proceed to more or less any of the basic duties that it's got to do to keep working. From there, the choice of going to an attorney is obviously first a very expensive choice. The second thing of an attorney and going to a professional external administration means they will go into the accounts, because their role is to release all the assets as much as possible of the association, and as well, of course, to pay the creditors. In this case, the major problem that has led to right now what is a complete blocking of the situation is not people forgetting to resign or having the wrong name, GGA, for months and at length on papers. It's just that the signatures, and this is critical, and it's been told from day one by the previous board, there must be 2 signatures, and there must be a president, a treasurer, and a secretary. All the papers, all the contracts, all things have been done with a single signature. This means that it's a matter of liability, and the liability is what external administrators go for, and that's what attorneys go for as well. They will give you an advice regarding the law and regarding the liability. As you know of, that's been said during the handover, and probably the membership is not necessarily familiar with this. The members are not liable to the losses of the association. but the board members are until they are discharged and the accounts for the year are accepted. This is now as well a critical matter that's not relevant to me or whoever, but just to the law and to the Swiss law, civil code of obligations, and etc., etc. This has been reminded, and indeed, it has proven to be extremely difficult to work with. I'd like to definitely thank Zach. Going through this work is just essential. Thanks for sharing and presenting as neutrally as possible the situation. There will be never be a single truth on what happened. There are documents tonight that will be presented that have been worked on by numerous people. Thanks a lot to them. I think it will be, as the secretary, it will be useful to go through them. It is a decision still to know if we will take decisions on these and what will be the outcome of this meeting. But I must say that here, all these documents have been released recently. No accountancy has been held for a year. This has to be understood, and it's been extremely difficult to rework either the accounts or most especially the budget. We still are unsure that some people will not show up with claims, financial claims in the future, because some things have been promised, written by people without the knowledge of the board, possibly. This has to be taken into account on why to move on and possibly to come up with something else. There is no money to be lost. If we try to do it through the assembly, through the members, if we try through good faith, a common ground where we move forward, where we go to a dissolution, where the assets are released, and where we can choose together where the assets have to be released. I think this is critical. We're not going to throw it somewhere in the field, hoping that someone will pick up the timing system and a couple thousand. I thank you all who are here tonight. I let the chairman process as he sees with the documents. You can find the documents on the webpage, on the website, internationaldowneyfederation.com, and for the General Assembly 2022.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. And as he said, basically, these are the issues for which we are at least interested in exploring a legal counsel, because as I said in my introduction, Nicholas is extremely knowledgeable about these things, but he is not a Swiss lawyer either. I would love to be able to trust everything that he says, but if membership asks me otherwise, maybe we can talk about this, but I feel that it would be irresponsible to proceed with something as potentially serious as the dissolution of this large organization without some outside counsel from an impartial legal professional, much as I wish that we had retained one early on to make sure that we didn't make these mistakes that we have made. So with that going forward, I would like I said, I want to open up the opportunity for other board members to speak on their beliefs on the past, present, future events of this organization within the realm of progress. And then when we are finished with that, then I would love to go to the, I will read through the comments on YouTube, and we will do our best to answer any questions that we can. Max Dubler has his hand up. So Max, if you'd like to go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to co-sign basically everything Zach said and express my desire to hand this off to some folks who can take it and run with it to continue serving the best interests of the sport however they see fit, whatever that looks like. And however I can help the next group, just let me know. I'm around.
Yeah, thank you very much. Anybody else on the current board wish to speak at this time? All right, fantastic. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Marcy and Sabrina for being invaluable contributors to this organization over the last, not just the last several months, but the last whole time we've been trying to do anything. They have been extremely helpful and knowledgeable and connected us to lots of very useful resources. So thank you guys very much. And I hope that the following organization sees some value and chooses to ask you to help them as well if they see it to be useful. So anyway, let me go to the comments here. I will go to the top here, and this is a place where, like I said, I'm prepared to entertain all questions here. If you want to ask something deeply inflammatory, you may be dissatisfied with the answer, but starting at the top of the comments, 1 second, sorry. This is not a question, but Pierce has introduced a honorary motion for the resignation and dissolution of the board and the federation. I believe that we have spoken to that, but we will probably have further discussion on the matter today. Patrick Swixter asks, what benefits remain to continue the organization, or is it simply a placeholder? To my present understanding of the situation, there is probably some value to be placed on the brand of the organization, as it has existed for 9 years and has some track record of public appearances, and there are social media accounts of followers, and there is email accounts and all the things that go with any organization that has been functioning. In terms of value going forward, and whether or not almost a handover of the organization to a new organization wouldn't be just as viable, that's up to the viewer. But as it stands, I believe that's something we were planning to do anyway, though we will not take any decisions like this because we don't feel responsible to do so. We had been discussing the need with the membership list difficulties anyway to cause everyone to re-sign up for their membership, to do away with any recurring PayPal payments that people had just forgot because it just felt dishonest at this point. So the value that could have been attached to those thousands of euros a year in recurring PayPal payments is moot. So that's not particularly relevant, but that is a good question. Morgan Owens asked me to explain what happened with Aaron. I believe he is referring to some political drama that unfolded, I don't know, a few weeks ago whenever I became the president. And basically, to summarize, I guess, and anyone on the board can correct me on this, but our official perspective on the matter is that some private individuals, members of the organization, reached out to those of us on the board and expressed deep concern for Aaron's leadership of the board and implored us to ask him to step down under penalty of some kind of public shaming. And we saw that it was the right course for the organization to do our best to mend fences with the membership and show that we were most interested in the organization continuing smoothly and in good faith with as many people as possible. So at that time, Aaron relinquished the presidency, and I took it up with the intention of only holding it until this General Assembly. But now it appears that I have to continue at least until some replacement board members can be found, or if the organization is going to dissolve. But that is, I would say, our official position at this time. Barry is saying something about the funds being under control of a single person, not on the board. I don't know to whom he's referring. Cedric Cornell is asking about that. But what I believe he is talking about there is that, and it is absolutely true, technically a large portion of the funds of the organization are in a possession of a PayPal account that belongs to Aaron Breitwar. At this time, we have no trouble with that. I don't think that there's going to be any problem with it. And I think Aaron can speak on his own to the fact that he is very much eager to get that money out of his possession just as soon as this organization is able to legitimately establish a bank account, which has been a major obstacle of the lack of legitimacy of the organization as a whole in Switzerland. Obviously, that will not become a problem if the organization is to be dissolved and be reformed, but I will allow Aaron after this question period to assure everybody that he has no trouble getting rid of that money. Let's see what else we got. Someone's asking if they're witnessing the death of the IDF live on YouTube, or is this a necessary step to rebuild it from scratch with a new organization? That remains to be seen, friend. Let's see. So Barry is asking, so what will happen next? At this time, Barry, I would say, this is based on discussion that we had in the hour coming up to this meeting. So we have been discussing this because we assumed we would want to have an answer for you guys. I would say in the next week, we have already reached out to potential legal counsel. Nicholas has told us that there may be an option to have it for free through some Swiss resources. So obviously, if we can avoid spending any money, we will. But I would fully like to personally authorize the spending of at least 1 hour of legal time to ask some crucial questions about if there is a way to fix this organization and just pass it over to new board members, or if it must be dissolved, and if it must be dissolved, to make sure that we have a very clear plan to do it properly. But otherwise, I'd say the next thing is going to be some significant member involvement. We need to create as many spaces as possible for member comment on this, and we need to kind of have some kind of a semblance of an idea of who is a member, so that we know that it's not just people who haven't been members for 5 years voicing their opinions about what should be happening with the organization. But we really do intend to take the temperature of the populace as a whole, because this is your organization. And whatever it seems to be the best way forward, we will then present a prospective plan, and we will open that up for comment. And whenever it is legally viable for us to proceed, and we feel that we have the best chance of satisfying the largest number of our constituents, then we will act in that fashion. Let's see. Let's see. And yes, Pierce, I am happy to recognize the number of people in the comments agreeing with your motion, but it is firstly not within the rights of our present constitution to exercise motions in a general assembly like this, but that is something that will be up to the new either replacement board members or then exactly. Do we think we're going to have a real world tour this year? A world tour? Probably not, just because of continuing uncertainty based on the dregs of this end stage, hopefully, of this pandemic. But that is something that, as we'll see, if we're dissolving very quickly, I don't want to speak to this, but if we are not dissolving quickly, we would like to provide services of any description that we can to any races that want us. So if we can provide timing, if we can provide race direction services, and depending on how the membership feels about it, of course, we would love to provide those at a deeply subsidized cost, if not free of charge, to make sure that the IDF provides some value to its members in any way that it possibly can in 2022, and hopefully can come back strong in 2023 with a genuine world tour when everyone from all over the world is authorized to travel all over the world. Before this week, when our plan that we thought we had kind of ceased to exist, we had intended to connect with as many European race organizers as possible, and at least get a continental championship going there. And anyone else who had something viable, we would love to have been part of. Nicholas has his hand up. Nico, why don't you go ahead?
Can you hear me? Yeah, perfect.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I'm just stepping in, since possibly for the membership. Thank you for the summary. For 3 months, the board hasn't been gathered from December to end of February. It is not of the responsibility of this board that the choice at some point was made to have only 2 events in the calendar this year, which were 2 coming events, which are awesome events, by the way. This was a unilateral decision taken by the president during the winter, where the board had no say. It was presented at the last minute to the organizer meeting. It was a brilliant initiative that was mostly promoted by Sabrina. Thanks again for this. Unfortunately, which turned into a major brawl, simply because we were 15 to 20 of the main promoter, even promoters, and I'm certainly not one of the biggest there, of probably among the hardest working people in the community on this planet, and taking the most risk to have this circus still move on, just to be told actually after 2 hours of some pretty shabby audits that actually no, there wouldn't be an international calendar this year apart from 2 competitions on the Northern American continent. This has led to, that's for sure, a big wake-up call at the border level, because the Euro Tour, as for organizers, we've been contacting since early December the GGA, what was the GGA, let's put it this way, on the Discord, and tried to understand what was going on. That's where everything started. And that's where we started to open the books, or more like the non-books. And that's where absolutely in the board, some people effectively were shocked. But at no point in the last weeks have we been able to have any sort of project for this year. We've had talks of what I was chatting with the European organizers, and I haven't heard of anyone else trying to reach to any other promoters. So I'm not saying again anything against what Zach just said, in the sense that the intention is there. It's just that the capacity to act with so few members, with so little work that can be produced out of the board, was impossible. I'd like to know if how we proceed here, Mr. Chairman, if you want to go through some documents, or if you want to keep the discussion for the end of each point, or keep it open this way.
I guess at this time, let's proceed with any documents that we are planning to present here, and we can, if anyone watching, if you have any questions that come up, or you have additional questions about a specific point, please leave them in the comments, and we will do our best to address them. At this time, I don't know what, if we have something to present. Do we have something else? The original purpose of this General Assembly was going to be to follow the Swiss law and present the Articles of Association. I believe those have been available for review, but I feel that is kind of a waste of our time, as they may not exist after the coming days anyway. Let me go back to our comment stream, as I'm not sure what else we have going on here. Oh, sure, Tristan. Let's see. Sabrina, are you able to put any, put our budget spreadsheets on the live stream here?
Yes, I can do any presentations. You just have to let me know which ones, and I'll present them.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, why don't you go ahead as if we were, if we had been conducting a regular General Assembly. Go ahead, and you can just start at the beginning, and I'll do my best to explain what's on them.
All right, give me a second.
So, and I'll speak to this while we get to this point, because I'm sure it's going to come up once we have these documents anyway. In the comments here, Morgan Owens asks, did Aaron spend money without the consent of the rest of the board? And this is kind of a, I don't want to say delicate, but not entirely crisp issue, being that, as Nicholas said, in true point of fact, these contracts only had one signature on them. That signature was that of Aaron Breitwar. That is a true fact. I will not attempt to dissuade anyone of that notion. But I and those of my confederates on the board are completely able and willing to accept responsibility for allowing Aaron to do so. While these contracts do not have the explicit approval of the board, I would say that they absolutely did at the time have the implied approval of the board through our general lack of action. And I'm fully willing to take responsibility for that. It was easy for sure over the course of the pandemic to become a little bit apathetic and not push forward as hard as we could have, because we weren't sure when any of this was going to be over. And apparently it's over a little sooner than maybe some of us thought. So I'm grateful for that. But absolutely, any funds that were spent were done so legitimately, at least in terms of our ranks. You know, in my personal views on whether or not the funds were wisely spent are beside the point. They were done so at least, if not with my express approval and those of the other board members, but without any of our direct resistance either. Someone had their hand up a second ago. Was that Sabrina?
Sorry, I received the call and I didn't hear the last part. What did you ask me?
I'm sorry, your audio is a little bit hard to make out.
Yeah, I couldn't hear your question towards me.
Nicholas, yes.
Yes, I'll briefly go on it. Yes, indeed, the question of the responsibility, many things have been said and done by the board, and yes, it is implied. I'd like to add here, for my position, I'm acting secretary, I'm not elected. I've stepped in 1 year ago, knowing that this association was in Switzerland and may have trouble. I'm president of the Swiss Federation, have a long history and experience of international sport organization and national sport organization under Swiss law and other laws. I've sent on the 23rd of February to Austin, who was previous board member, all the relevant addresses to get free or at very low cost legal help. So you'll hear regularly, and you've read regularly from various board members and not a president, that I should be someone to distrust or just a single voice in the void. I'm here as well as representative of Swissgate, which is the national skating federation under the Swiss Olympic National Committee. I'm part of the board. I'm in various foundations and etc. So once again, I'd like here to help, as I've been doing for 12 months with less and less patience and sometimes cussing. There is not a tradition in Switzerland of going for attorneys. When attorneys go into something where they find criminal stuff, that is of their duty to give you a very clear advice, and in some cases, sometimes to activate a few things, or clearly to tell you that if they see anything criminal in this, you will be bound yourself as board member or member, whatever, to activate the relevant authorities. So once again here, I'm kindly warning, and you should not take it as a threat, but especially non-profits and sport organizations are an industry that is very well taken care of by the Swiss authorities and legal system. And it is always better to find a bad arrangement than to try to do it between us with the help of professionals, but keeping it under control. So I hope it is the last time that I hear that I'm just sort of a lone wolf trying to take over. And I can assure that this is part of the attitude that makes that as of today, whatever the project's coming next, it will not come out publicly in the current forum because it is not to be trusted.
Thank you, Nicholas. Aaron, you have something to say?
Sure. Yep. Hello, everybody. Just to make sure, in case there's any sort of question around this, I just want to make sure this is explicit. At every instance where there was a request to spend money on a contractor, contracts were presented to the board for review. So just to sort of clear up, while my signature was yes, the only one on the contracts, which is, I will fully admit, due to my, perhaps lack of understanding on how many signatures were needed. there is no instance in which a contract was not presented in regards to any new contractors that were being brought on. There was an instance where I approved the lengthening of somebody's hourly commitment in order to get something done in time for Tepe and tacos, which we are no longer doing due to the sort of complexities of the situation at hand, and that being of little interest to the organizer. But nonetheless, there was not a single time that a new contractor was presented to the board without a contract for review.
Thank you. That's an accurate representation, I believe. Nicholas, you have a comment?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. It doesn't change anything to the fact that the contract is just absolutely illegal. And I mean, it's just, in terms of liability, yeah, it's extremely problematic. And regarding Tepe and Tacos, why these things have been blocked, it's because the organization was going to be bankrupt in a matter of 2 to 3 months. And it took us hours and hours and screaming and threatening to finally, with a professional accountant and I, make the board realize what the problem was, because nothing was budgeted and someone has been working. You'll find it in the budget because it was mostly on 2022 for over 4,000 in an organization that barely made 20 last year out of recurring PayPal payment. Voilà. I just want, once again, the history to be straightened. And once again here, I've done this call earlier on in private with the board. Aaron, I would like just excuses. I think that will be just the only thing welcome today. Otherwise, we will have many, many other things to discuss here and after this session as well.
Okay, at this time, both Aaron and Nicholas, I would like to ask that we refrain from any, like I said, discussion about how we feel about these events. There will be plenty of time for that. This General Assembly is to discuss just the facts of what has happened and answer questions mostly from members. So, Nicholas, is your hand still up? Do you have something else? All right. So with that in mind, I absolutely need to open the part of the discussion here where we see these accounts that are in question, though these documents, I believe, have been available, but we will go through them live here and anybody wants to act. Those of you in the comments who are discussing whether or not it is viable to run this organization with volunteers, that is, unfortunately not really part of this discussion at this time. That was part of our original platform going into this board that we never really got a chance to run under normal circumstances because of the lack of the ability to race for 2 years. But that was part of our belief, was that it was generally unsustainable and that it's sort of indicative of that nature, that the previous board, basically no one was willing to run for re-election. If it was a great job to do, maybe they would have stuck around, and we obviously need to figure out a way to source adequate and qualified work to run an organization like this, and that has proven to be difficult in the past with an all-volunteer force, with the noted exceptions of folks like Barry, who seem to have nearly inexhaustible energy and zeal and enthusiasm for this sport and are willing to work incredibly hard for incredibly long amounts of time. But if those people were more frequent in any community, let alone this one, perhaps we would not be in this pickle. Aaron, go ahead, please.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just respond to that question directly. I think it is absolutely not viable to run this organization on volunteer labor. At the outset of our initial election, we took some time to form our platform and get an initial commitment.
Okay. Aaron, I'm sorry. I got to cut you off. The time for this is over. We are at this point. We are paying the penance for our lack of ability to enact our vision. It is all right, but if you want to evangelize the members about our original message, unfortunately, today this is about our accountability, and it is just not the time.
Right. I don't think that's what I'm doing, Zach. If you wouldn't mind letting me finish.
Go ahead.
Okay. So we made a commitment at the beginning to one another as board members that we would put in about 5 hours a week on this. And we can just say very matter-of-factly that did not in fact happen. And so despite our, experience in the scene, our various levels of expertise, our credibility across the scene. We were, despite being, poised to be the people who could perhaps lead this thing to a better spot than it had been previously, to a more official and equitable spot, we were not able to do so. So what I would say is that in the absence of our ability to do that, in the absence of the previous boards stepping up for re-election, and the absence of further people stepping up, in this last weeks as we have had a call to do so, I would say that no, I definitively no, this organization cannot be run on volunteer labor. We have had excellent support from Marcy and Sabrina, who have both been paid contractors. Every single person who we have worked with as a paid contractor who has been able to stick it out has done an excellent job on behalf of this organization, and we so appreciate their contribution. Boards are great for advising, and day-to-day operations are better executed by people who are paid to do so, who have the time and the wherewithal to do so. So I would absolutely encourage everybody who wants to see this thing grow in the future to support the paying of contractors who need to do the work that needs to get done. In order to do that, we need to be able to have group conversations around what is most important, because we do in fact have limited funds. That is absolutely true. And so the money needs to be spent in the right order, in the right way. I'm absolutely happy to own that I might not have been the person to know exactly what those things ought to be, but that was the point of assembling a board in the first place. So that the goal here is to have group discussion about the right way to spend the money moving forward. But I believe wholeheartedly that we do in fact need to actually spend the money in order to have a functioning organization.
All right, thank you. Nicholas?
Good, now is the time. So we heard it all. I'm member of too many international organizations as an athlete or other things. International sports is based on non-profits and is based on volunteer positions. And then when you really become a sport with thousands and thousands of members in dozens of countries with official federations and etc., maybe you can start to think to hire half-time a secretary general or a bit of accountancy and stuff like this. Here, it is just an absolute scandal to hear this. Aaron, once again, you are rewriting history. You've been vulturing, and these are no feelings, trust me, these are facts. You've been vulturing this association for several years with media projects. That's all
Nicholas,
that matters to
Nicholas,
you. No, we will finish it now, because
I
you've
have
been
to cut
letting
you off.
him
We're
talk,
going to go
and
through
he
the
is
account.
lying. This guy has been lying.
I'm sorry, Nicholas. He shared an opinion. This opinion that you're sharing here is not of specific value to this. We are going to go through the accounts. Apparently, Nicholas has left the meeting. At this point, I also want to share with everyone here that I have spent an inordinate amount of time since I became the president wading through various layers of completely unwanted political bullshit. And this community is far too small to exist in such a way. It's already so much work to run this organization, or any organization, in a legitimate fashion, as I have tasted in the last few weeks. And as Barry well knows, right, that for us to also be warring between ourselves will just eat up everybody's energy to provide anything of value to the organization. So we're going to go through the accounts, and I want everybody to understand too that when we got the call from the membership, Nicholas, Pierce, others who contacted myself and others on the board, that there was this deep concern over the direction of the organization under Aaron's presidency, we all did act. Aaron willfully stepped down as president because he heard this call as well. And I can personally guarantee that Aaron's original, not even concretely proposed, but exploration of a media project that, if had gone to plan, may have unfolded at Tepe and Tacos this year. The numbers that are thrown around about what would have been spent are highly debatable. And I can assure you that had they come up for review of the board, I do not believe that the board as a whole would have voted to spend literally all of the organization's money on one project. But if there had been a proposal that seemed to provide value to the members, I absolutely would have been prepared to support it. So But that is beside the point at this time, as I said, because clearly we're not trying to hold on to this anymore. I appreciate the expertise that Nico has brought to this situation in terms of his knowledge of these Swiss statutes, but at this time, like I said, on both sides of this issue, I am genuinely uninterested in discussing anyone's personal opinions about the actions or facts of the organization at this time, other than those of the members. And we have this forum here to provide that opportunity to hear these questions and these criticisms, and we are prepared to hear them and acknowledge them. But we do not need to create space for any kind of accusations that, baseless or not, are not based on facts. So at this time, Marcy, or excuse me, Sabrina, either one, I guess whoever has the keys to the presentation here, let's please go over these accounts and we will present them candidly.
Yes, Marcy, I'll present for you, but you are the one behind this, so I'll just do the technical side.
Sounds good. I'm just not sure. Are you going to show the 2021 numbers first?
Yeah, that sounds.
Yeah, I was gonna start with the auditor's report, but I don't know if
sure.
you want me to go with 2021, because that's the first file is auditor's report.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's do that.
And Aaron, do you have your hand up? Do you have a pressing comment on this before we go on?
No, sorry, that was an accident.
Yeah, all good.
So as far as this auditor's report goes, this is something that Nico was more involved in doing, and he dealt directly with the people who actually wrote this statement. So as it says here, it just says, you know, I checked the balance sheet and the income statement items, carried out checks and verified correspondence of the accounts, asked several questions. During my audit, I did not come across any elements that would allow me to conclude that the annual accounts do not comply with the law or the statutes. I therefore invite the General Assembly to approve the accounts submitted to it, to grant discharge to the responsible bodies, and to thank the board for their work.
So at this time, and Marcy, you can correct me if I'm interpreting this incorrectly, but these folks, or excuse me, these auditors basically have deemed that the accounts are financially legitimate in that there are no missing funds. Everything is accounted for in terms of invoices paid and incomes declared. And at this point, that is the most important legal, legal definition of that. But the membership satisfaction with how the money was spent is another matter. And at this time, I don't know what exactly is to be done about it. If you have dissatisfaction, well, I'm prepared to hear it.
Let me stop you 1 second. You are right, but this is for the 2020 accounts. So this is for the previous board, just verifying that those accounts coming into the current board were handled, I guess, in accordance to the laws. Now, I was never asked to look at the 2020 accounts, though I did go through and sort of get a general idea of the organization from its inception to now. So without Nico on the line to expand upon this and the work that he did with whoever this person is, I really can't say much about it other than that.
Okay, thank you. And Nicholas, we absolutely invite your opinion on this stuff. We just ask that it remain within the confines of specifics. Let me see if I can navigate away from my YouTube.
Okay.
Let me get back.
Sorry, guys. We can share the form for people to vote now, despite the fact that we could not finish working on the members list that are actually active. So I'll just share it there. Like, you guys can vote directly on that form. Make sure that you enter all your information. We'll be basically asking everything live, and then you can vote there. That's the only way that in the long term, once we get things worked out, we can make sure that we actually do hear only from active members. That's what I can add to this. And also, I don't know if it might have been misunderstood, but this is the 2020 board discharge. So I don't know if Piers wants to refuse the accounts for the previous board. I was checking the comment stack. I don't know if you can read that just in case.
Well, furthermore, it's kind of back to our original issue with the legitimacy and functionality of this organization as a whole. The membership, we don't even know how, whether or not they are voting on this, and whether or not those accounts are beholden to the French articles or the supposed Swiss articles. I'm sure Nicholas has very much information on this. Marcy, are the accounts available somewhere?
So I think that what they're asking for is they're waiting for us to show them the 2021 accounts so that the members can see what the money has been spent on, and then maybe we can discuss it in further detail. I think that's what Pierce is talking about. So I think that we were just going according to the agenda. So if you're saying you want to skip forward to the 2021 accounts, then Sabrina.
Well, look, what I have to share is that in like 15 minutes, I'm actually going to have to go. Some things have come up.
Nick has joined the call, so he can further explain maybe. His audio is not connected yet. Thank you.
Okay.
So Nick has rejoined the call. I don't see him. Is he here? Okay. Nicholas, would you like to speak? I would very much like to hear you, and we are prepared to talk about this stuff with the membership. Sorry, I was trying to hear. Nicholas, are you here?
Nick, I've sent you unmute.
I'm here.
So Marcy, at your convenience, go ahead and put the accounts from 2021 on the screen if you can, and I will just speak to it immediately. Absolutely, you will see that, and it's funny, it's kind of skewed, obviously, because we didn't have that many memberships come in yet for this year, because obviously we didn't know if there were going to be any events, let alone any IDF events. But I would say that many may find that the amount that was spent on contractors to be excessive, and I am absolutely willing to hear that. And you don't have to worry about it happening in the future, because I promise we will be gone as soon as possible. But let's hear some questions.
Well, would you like me to speak for? I would like to speak, since I am one of these contractors and I am the one who went over all of the numbers in great detail. I was called in November of 2021, mid to late November, and asked if I would be willing to go through all of the accounts, provide a budget for a media project, and then just continue to work with the organization as they needed help with financial matters. I agreed to do that for a very minimal charge of $500 a month, which is the equivalent to $17 a day, not knowing what I was getting into as far as just all of the political aspect of this. I've been racing since 2017 and never really involved in what the IDF was ever doing, and just showing up to races. Enjoyed the community and loved so many people in this that I thought that I would contribute all the help that I could. So the beginning of my contract was just trying to learn, and by having meetings with previous board members, as well as current board members, on how the organization functions, what it does, all the ins and outs, because there was no way for me to even begin to look at things without knowing what the IDF does. And then I began working on the media budget project while waiting to get access to the accounting so that I could actually put together a real budget, knowing what the numbers were that in the accounts that the IDF or the GGA had. In doing that, I actually had to go back for the entire year of 2021 and reconcile the PayPal account. There's 2 PayPal accounts. As was mentioned, one of them holds about $42,000 in it. That is in Erin's name. I have all of the passwords and access to that. And in good faith, that money will stay there until whatever is decided to be done with that by the members. The other account is the PayPal account that all of the membership fees come in and out of. That means, you know, people who are paying for their membership or people who are canceling their membership. That account also did pay some of the contractors and other monthly fees that the association was incurring. So as you go down, you know, this is the profit and loss typical of any organization. You show your income first and then less your operating expenses for your net profit. So membership dues was the 19,000. If you want to ask questions about what the, you know, advertising and marketing, that was for MailChimp. And I think there's, you know, a couple $100 in there to a gentleman named Cole Kremen, and he did some photography work. Other than that, that is monthly MailChimp fees that are about $51 a month for the whole year. The accounting and consultancy charges, those include a web developer that was working on a website that the GGA was trying to build in order to help with some of this discrepancy between membership dues and how all of that works. There is Sabrina's pay is in there. Alex was working on the media project, and myself as the financial consultant for the organization up until now. There is the under general expenses. As I was auditing through everything, there's, you know, I guess breathalyzers were purchased by Chris McBride. There was a $40 that had to get given back to reimbursed to Louis. So that's what that is. The legal expenses, from what I understand and the best of my knowledge, is that these were fees that were paid to a gentleman named David Lem, and he was working for the previous board to change over the organization from the from the French Federation to the Swiss Association. And that was paid in January of 2021. Office expenses, those are the fees for the year for the accounting program. The accounting program that the organization uses is called Xero. It's spelled Xero. And they're billed monthly. Both Erin and Louis, I'm sorry if I'm saying that name wrong, they had to be reimbursed for those fees because they were paying them out of pocket. Of course, the PayPal fees, that's, you know, pretty self-explanatory. Subscriptions, that $55 got put under subscriptions because that's money that is actually still owed to Chris McBride for site hosting fees and some domain name registry. The way that it was put in by a previous person, I don't know how to move that from subscriptions to website and server expenses. I've tried, and it's kind of something that I just couldn't figure out. Website and server expenses, we basically put $200 in there as sort of an estimate of money that is owed to whoever has been paying the monthly, quarterly, or yearly hosting fees for the website. Again, that's one of those.
That's Chubb's, Brian Court, right?
Okay. And so there you have it. That leaves us with a net profit of the $7,336.55 for 2021. If there's any questions,
thank you very much, Marcy.
I can answer them. You're welcome.
So let me get back to my YouTube window. And yes, Tristan, I believe if you're asking if that is correct, then yes, that is what you're seeing.
And there's an auditor's report for the current accounts?
There is, and there are people that are asking a few other questions that I think I saw in the chat, but Pierce is asking to see the deliverables on the consulting. Well, for me, you're looking at part of my deliverables now, and there are much more, so I'm not sure what he's talking about when it comes to deliverables. But this, I mean, as far as accounting goes, I am looking at the accounting every day, if not every other day. There are constant transactions that are coming and going from the PayPal account that need to be reconciled so that everything is up to date. There are payments that have been needed to be made to people. There's quite a bit of work that goes into all of the accounting part. Of course, there were budgets that were made, and you will see one of those budgets coming up later in the meeting. As far as deliverables for the media project or for Sabrina, maybe that's what you're asking, Pierce. And I think Nico can show those. And Sabrina can probably show you a lot of what she's done.
And I have to, one second, Nico, just before you say, I'm going to have to sign off in about 3 minutes due to the unique circumstances of my life today. And at that time, I would like to, if he will accept it, pass the chair to Hop. And I would like to personally thank everyone for attending this, and I will obviously be reading the comments. And I am available for discussion if anyone would like to reach out to me as well. Following this meeting, like I said, my goal has not changed here. That yeah, if Pierce found a new organization and best path forward is to transfer this one to that organization, that is, and there is a legitimate and clean way to do it, I'm 100% behind it. Anyway, with that, Nicholas, I would love to hear what you have to say here, and then I will unfortunately have to sign off, but I will of course watch the stream on YouTube when I get home. Go ahead, Nico.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, thank you infinitely. Regarding the questions to the consulting, and especially Sabrina's, which is most of the consulting of last year. So yes, in terms of accountancy, it lands there because technically we would need an entirely new accountancy plan to have human resources here. And yeah, this is something that's got to be reworked. We just worked with Marcy with what we had and trying most importantly to have it match the previous system of accountancy. Nonetheless, regarding Sabrina's work, a lot of work has been done. The problem is the process, once again, the structural problem to get something delivered. And here I can only relay, and I'm sure Sabrina can speak for herself, but there are production plans, there is some material, there is some struggle to get some feedbacks because as a consultant, as a contractor, you're not allowed to publish whenever you want, whatever you want. So in this case, I can guarantee we went as much as we could to verify, and work was done but not delivered. It's the problem. If Sab, you have something to add, with pleasure.
Yeah, no, honestly, that kind of covers it. Well, Nick has been able to see the amount of work that I usually do, and that's probably the reason behind, you know, the last sort of new contract that was not approved, because I was basically doing a lot more than was supposed to be done by a social media manager or an email marketing specialist. But I don't know, I'm open for questions. Obviously, if the board approves it, I can share all the files that I've been working on. And I really hope that some of the projects that are ready to be published at some point do get the approval to get online. But it depends on the course of things, how this meeting goes, I guess. But yeah, I'm open for questions, of course. I don't know. I'm reading the questions, but yeah, I don't know if you want to know, like, to have an idea, the rate for my last contract was actually close to $3 an hour. I was working, and maybe that's my fault, about 12 hours a day, almost every day, except for maybe the weekend, where people would give me a break. But having people living all over the world made it really hard to do administrative work without actually spending that much time online and ready to answer questions or to reach out to people. So maybe, as I read before, even though some of us are getting paid, it's still, basically out of love for the sport, because many of you may know that it's very hard to consider $3 an hour like an actual reasonable pay. But yeah, again, if the board approves for me to show everything I've been doing and all the files that I have to prove for the amount of work that I've been doing, I will definitely do that. And I haven't been maybe reaching out to people as much as I used to before, because most of the stuff that I work on is privileged, and I respect that a lot. So yeah, basically, maybe that is something else that is important to state here, as I used to be a lot more present on social media and telling, when I used to be a writer's rep, obviously all the stuff that I knew of could be shared with the public, but that's not the case now, and it's very hard to separate Sabrina as a member from Sabrina as an employee with privileged information. So, but yeah, I will read the questions, and if there's any more questions for me, I'll try to answer them, maybe in the chat. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Sabrina. Where are we up to next?
Well, I do see a question in the chat asking me to break down the consulting fees. And so it'll take me just a second to do that. Since they can't see the full list for the account, they can only see the total. There was a web development person named Megan Realstone. She did some work that was about $800. For my own self, in 2021, I also was paid just under $800. Then Sabrina's contract for 2021 was $3,700. And then Alex Dorson, he was 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He was close to $1,300 for 2021, and that was on the media project. So that's a general breakdown of that account.
I can't see the questions, so where are we up to next? Have we finished with the accounts? I just wanted the one thing, there was an auditor's report on the last set of accounts. That was all done.
Yes, yes, it's been done, so we can open it, whoever is sharing the screen. So the previous one was done by Nicolas Robert. Sorry, letting Marcy alone on that one. Most importantly, the discharge. So there were questions on various channels. The discharge of the board. An association in Switzerland is similarly seen as a company with a board, so an LLC company. So is a moral person with a board that requires an annual accounts with auditors to verify. Here we have a simplified tip of accounting required, and Marcy's accounting is absolutely fitting the bill here, literally. So in the case of 2020, it's the regular. Most importantly, the accounts had already been adopted, but this discharge legally the board, the previous board, of everything we are aware of. So everything that is mentioned in the accounts as financials and etc., they are discharged of. Of course, if claims and other things may pop up later, they will not, they would still be liable to these. In the case of 2021, obviously we are in a different case of figure. First, Nicolas Robert is old top rider, board maker. He's an event promoter, and he's been involved in several non-profits in Switzerland, so he knows his bits around here. And when it comes to 2021, Simon von Allmen is the Secretary General of the Swiss Federation. He's a professional, he's got an agency, and he's trained in law regarding problems of sport management, especially sport rights, media rights, etc., etc. Here, the third paragraph is the critical one. It matches what I've said in the opening statement and the reason of that discussion about dissolution. Dissolving the association. In the current state, none of the payments or contracts made by the current board match the requirements of having two valid signatories. No balance sheet is available, but it appears the current main PayPal account isn't in the name of the association, and its owner is a debtor of the latter. So Austin currently is the owner of the account. We have access to this account, but it technically cannot be accounted as a direct wealth of, it is an asset, but it is not money straight away available technically from an accounting point of view. Furthermore, due to PayPal's legal uncertainties, there are long law cases in Switzerland about its virtual nature and cross-jurisdictional status. Such financial services shouldn't be accounted for nor used as an active bank account. Lesson learned by painfully by many organizations, small shops, non-profits, etc. previously. I therefore conclude that the annual accounts do not comply with the law or the statutes. I therefore invite the General Assembly to refuse the accounts submitted to it, to refuse discharge to responsible bodies, and to invite the board to resolve this situation as soon as possible. Lucerne. Voilà. And I think we can open the questions, or there are possibly questions on YouTube or in the board about it.
Real quickly, I wasn't paying attention to the chat while I was presenting, and they wanted the members want to see the detail of the consulting account, which they couldn't see on screen. So I did just send it to our chat so that Sabrina can load that up when that makes sense to do so. They're asking for transparency, so they need to be able to see it.
Okay, so we can show that now, can we, Sabrina?
Yes, I'm multitasking super hard, but give me a second.
Yeah, no, that's right, while you're going. So what else? Are we ready to finish this meeting? I think we've covered everything. Is that the accounts? Is that the last thing on the what we're going to be talking about? No, Sabrina, what else do we have?
There is, like, we're here at the auditor's report, and then we have revisional articles, and well, I think the budget is the most important thing that Marcy has left to talk about. Okay, well, let's get, well, the members have asked for that screen to come up of the split up, and then we'll go on to the budget for 2022, 2023. And while that's happening, I'll just say that we're not talking about the revision of the articles, and that is because the board
needs to sort out who are members and who are not. So this is one of the priority things that we are doing ASAP. And once we have that membership list, then we can talk about future articles and voting and all that, because we can't vote on something if we don't know whose vote counts and whose vote doesn't. So, Nicholas, you have something to say?
Yes. In this aspect, it's similar to the accounts, correcting it just due to the fact that we are missing we are in a catch-22. That's the metaphor I was looking for. So either we resign, we cancel all memberships, because it will be impossible, despite all the efforts, to be able to be sure that the membership is right. To cancel all membership, technically it will request still an action from the General Assembly. We can try to do it, but once again, here we are in a situation. Are you expecting? That's my question, actually. So you are expecting to extend the mandate of the current board in order to have the membership sort of sorted out before going for any type of decision? Because in this case, it means tonight no decisions will be taken, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
That's right. There can't be. Well, we're presenting like the information that the members really want, which is the budgets, the previous budgets, where we're up to, and the direction. I have been involved in on a very much smaller scale with ASRA, trying to reconcile PayPal accounts with membership lists, all that sort of stuff. It is a nightmare. It's not impossible. I will have a look at it in the next few days, and we'll report back on how possible or impossible it is. I have a few ideas. And once we do have that membership list, then we can proceed with anything that involves members to vote. Now, that is the breakdown of the consultancy.
I might have, I don't know, mistakenly sent then the voting form, but yeah, maybe that's my bad. I understood that because of the fact that we were continuing to go with the agenda, that we could use it. But yeah, I take the responsibility for maybe sending that without asking previously. I misinterpreted.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's right. So we've got the, Marcy has shown us here the consulting accountancy transactions. That's the breakdown. And we, I don't know how long we need to show that on screen, but that's where it is.
Hop, I don't know if you can see my hand up.
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was just checking because I think Zach couldn't see them.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry, Marcy. Yes, you've got a point. Sorry. Yeah, I did miss it.
Okay. Would you mind if I speak for a moment?
Go for it.
Thank you. I'm seeing questions in the chat regarding this. And so that people know, the question is asking, why is there 7 times or 8 times invoice number 5? And that is because all of those months were submitted in an invoice to me on one single invoice for the break. And they're on the invoice, it was 1 line for each month, but it was all within one invoice. And those invoices, every invoice that was submitted or receipt that was submitted is attached within the accounting program to that specific line item. So no, it's not an error. That is one invoice that detailed all of those months. And because I needed, Hop actually had paid Sabrina, and I needed that to be put into accounting properly with an invoice, showing that we owed the money.
And I'll just make a point on that. I did a international funds transfer. The broker that I use, there's sort of minimum amounts of transfer that we have to do. So we did do some transfers. We combined up sort of months and so forth. So we got to a minimum amount that we could transfer. And I'll just quickly, Nicholas, you have your hand up.
I just briefly, yes, because this arrangement, so indeed it's been paid to a member of the board, and to understand, because obviously that's what comes out as well of the comments on the YouTube. Nothing, and of the production file, nothing was published for several months, actually, apart from October, but second part of the year and earlier this year. I just want to understand why keeping paying. I mean, as a board member, why wasn't there question raised on why nothing was appearing on the various social media channels while someone was paid to do this job, and especially since she had been raised in July and hired for email marketing that never happened either.
So we're not going to get into that.
But I'm a member.
I paid the invoices, and I know your question is to, attack the board and so forth. We've actually said that, we've apologized. We said that some things didn't happen the way we wanted them to happen. I mean, I don't have the right words, but I can say that Sabrina, her job isn't purely social media, that it wasn't just about posting things on social media. Sabrina has taken on a large administration role. She's helped the board get organized and various things. And I mean, I think that the money was well spent. And to be perfectly honest and candid, Sabrina, her contract is up, and after this board meeting, she won't be doing any more IDF work. And I am in the process of hiring her for my company. So, I mean, I stand by the work that she does, and I think she is, things. And I don't think we should get into exactly what happened this month, that month, why we didn't post something on social media. Now, I don't know where we are, but Marcy, you have your hand up. I think you had your hand up first.
Yes, thank you. I just sort of felt like we sort of blazed right past this this letter in regards to, the PayPal accounts being uncertain and that sort of thing. I wanted to make clear to the members that it's not that the accounting in and of itself or that the numbers are what is in discrepancy. The numbers that are reflected in all of the financial statements are as true and accurate as I could possibly make them be, with the knowledge that I had. I literally printed 1 year's worth of statements off of PayPal and had the statements physically in hand, highlighting and check marking and adding, transactions, adding in, like I said, invoices and statements. So all of the numbers are as accurate as possible. It's not that the numbers are in question. It's that the PayPal account is not in the name, the majority of the funds are not in the name of the IDF, and that, as we've mentioned before, we can't get an accurate list of our members and those sorts of things. So it's not the actual, and when Nico says the term accountancy, the way I understand it is he means the organization as far as the accountability for all of the actions that have taken place that have gotten it to the point that it is, not the actual numbers and that accounting aspect.
Okay, and just before we go to Nico will be next. I'd just like to say that, part of the issue that this board has had from the start is that our legal uncertainty under Swiss law, we can't open up a bank account. We can't have a PayPal account under our name at the moment. We're hoping this actual whole, special general assembly was going to do that. If we could have a PayPal account under IDF right now, then we would. Aaron wouldn't have things. And it's not just Aaron that has IDF money in an account under his name. We also have Coma also has IDF money under a personal account. And again, it's not that he's keeping that money. It's just that when there's this legal situation is sorted out, when there's a proper bank account and everything, those funds will be transferred. Okay, we're going over to Nicholas. What do you got? I think
accounts. What Marcy has said is absolutely exact. The numbers, the column, the money is right, and that's the role of the accountant. The managerial, the controlling part is down to the board, is up to the board. That is the responsibility of the board to do this job, and that's where precisely we have a problem, and this contract is interesting. So this is a consulting contract for streaming video, for a streaming video project. Research report pertaining of the feasibility and of creating a downhill skateboard racing online video streaming service. And the problem is, after probably a week, if not before, it was pretty obvious that it was just unviable financially to do a streaming service. And instead of going back to the board and either modifying this contract for 5 hours a week, $32, actually the contract ran, and the contract ran, and the contract ran for 19 weeks. And then the contract was extended, as said Aaron, on his behalf. The deliverables can be made available. They're worth what it is in a contract that had technically no budget. So very quickly, the consultant was like asking questions like, what is the board? Where are the decisions? That is up to the members to ask for the details. That is up to the members to ask for the deliverables. But more largely here, James, you're asking now to take over the organization, to start again a members list, to bring back to the organization. You mentioned legal
I'm not
uncertainty.
taking over any. I'm not taking over anything.
So wait, you are asking, saying legal uncertainties. So I have copies from February 2021 of all the elements I've sent with everything explained how to do it. It was the handover made by the previous board was 100% clear. And if there were any uncertainties, it was just to go back to the attorney office that had established the statutes and helped. Everything was set about insurances, about bank accounts.
So Nico, I'm going to have to cut you off. I understand what you're saying, but
no, you don't understand, Hop. You keep denying what I'm saying.
Wait, like Nico, Zach has already said all that. We're not going to say it anymore. We know where the situation is.
You have to resign on the spot, or you will end up in.
Nico, please, mate, come on. We're trying to have like a general assembly here. We've got to you've had your piece, you said your thing. Now, can we just keep going? Aaron, am I going to regret this? You got your hand up. We don't really want to dive down this rabbit hole.
No, certainly not. No, I'm not actually interested in debating anything. I wasn't sure whether the question was regarding the media contract. Nico just signed on to speak. I wasn't sure if the question was regarding the current media contract or whether it was regarding the previous one. So we've agreed from the jump of this meeting, we are not going to discuss the way that money was spent. So no, I'm not interested in debating any of that. If there is a question about the previous media contract, I'm happy to speak on that if that's what's being asked.
No, I don't think it is, and I think we should move on.
Great, thank you.
So I think we've, Marcy, where are we up to now? So we've done the consulting transactions. I think the members have seen that. Are we going to go to the current budget? Marcy, you might be muted.
Sorry, Marcy, I muted you by mistake. I was going to send you the prompt to unmute.
Okay, there we go. According to the agenda, it says that we need to discuss revision of the articles.
Yeah, we're not going to do that because we've already said that the articles need to be voted on by the membership. We don't know who the membership is. That's one of our goals in the next week, is to work out who the memberships are. So I think there's no point in going through the revision of the articles if there's no membership. Am I out of place on that, or do you think we should discuss them?
No, I was just asking for clarification before we move on.
I think with those revisions, are they public? Do we have that public, that information? Like,
yeah,
have we made that public?
All of this is public, what we're seeing here.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the fact that we're seeking legal advice just now maybe kind of cancels out the fact that we already posted these. So, but I don't know, like, I'm just thinking out loud. So
Okay.
if you want, I can open the next item. Budget.
Yeah, let's open up the next item. The revision of articles. The articles are there, and the members can look at them. We can get some comments on them and so forth. But I think once we work out who's a member, who's not, so we can have proper voting, then we will open up those articles for discussion, and then they all get voted on. And then the members can say, yep, they're our articles. No, they're not. Or the other alternative is that the organization gets dissolved. But like, as Zach has commented on that, you know, this board is not here for a power grab. We're not here to things. And I would just like to say that I would like to stay on as the board, as a board member. But I am very happy to resign if it's in the best interest of the sport going forward. I haven't got a problem with that. You know, it's I would actually work with any future board. I don't have to be on the board. I do it with ASRA. I'm not on the ASRA board, but I do work for them, and I do the same thing. So if I have to resign with everyone else on the board when there is a new organization going forward, or if there's a new board, then that's what it is. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's move on. So Marcy, you presenting, or is Nicholas presenting? Where are we at for this one?
No, I'm presenting, but they are, oh, sorry, what you were asking to share. I wanted to ask, because I think Marcy is the one speaking on these.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, when I said presenting, I mean talking. That's sorry. I'm just
I wanted to ask Marcy or Nick if this was the initial screen, or if it's another one of these, and this is the summary.
So this is the summary, just showing that as of April 7th, that was the total money that the IDF has accessible to them. As Hop has mentioned, there are other funds being held by other people, but we just can't access those funds yet because we don't have a bank account. And so between the two PayPal accounts that we do have, these are the funds that are available and are currently being, these are the accounts that are currently being used by the organization. The $44,204. Yes, but there are some questions in the chat, and somebody was hoping that we would mention it during this this moment with these slides. So I'll just go ahead, if it's okay, and address those questions as to the contracts. All contracts have ended with any contractors. The media contract ended weeks ago. My contract ended last week by vote of the board. my contract was presented to the board also at the beginning of my contract. So I tried to go through all the right steps with that. Sabrina, your contract is also ending, right? After, has it terminated, or is it ending after this meeting?
Exactly, after this meeting.
Right, okay. So that takes care of all of that. The goal of this current board was just to make sure that that was clean. If a new board was going to be taking over, they could decide who they want to work with moving forward. Okay, so as I mentioned, $44,204 was our current balance as of April 7th. Of course, that's fluctuated today, but I just wasn't going to change this every single day leading up to the meeting. So it's generally in the same range. If you want to click to the expenses tab, and of course, Nico, if you want to jump in at any time and assist with this, feel free.
Yep, certainly. Currently, there was, for events, there was only one thing set, which was the possibility of flying the timing system to Europe for the coming season, and the opportunity maybe to grab a couple of dollars here and there by renting it, or depending the decision to, well, give it for free. That depends, but still there may be costs around here. The most important cost regarding the timing system is in various, sorry, we haven't been more specific, the transponders. So at the moment, thanks to Miles in the US, he went through all the transponders. We are down to 65 active transponders. These things get deactivated after 5 to 7 years. Ideally, we should buy around 50 more, and yeah, it depends the prices and opportunities and countries, but 6,000 should be enough. And in case, it's always possible for bigger races to rent it. Race Results, the company that is making this system, is excellent and based in Switzerland. Regarding the HR, as you can see, so Alex is the media contract, and Sabrina and Marcy, and the accountant. The idea in the future is, because regarding how many writings there are in the accounts and etc., one yearly or trimestral service from a professional accountant, and at the end of the year, just to wrap up, to have some nice accounts to present to the General Assembly is by far enough for the size of the accountancy that we've got to go through. On a normal basis, when there isn't month and month of work to be caught up. Other than that, we couldn't do better than just keep more or less the previous year's expenses. But here, MailChimp could be cut. PayPal definitely will be left for dead as soon as we can. There are solutions transfer-wise. The fact of opening a bank account in Switzerland when you open an association is absolutely darn easy. But once again, it's about having the minutes, the statutes, and the signatures both done. And yeah, a little bit of help on the ground. Obviously, when an association in Switzerland is run from abroad, it can prove a bit tricky at this very point. That's where I'm still available at any moment. Outstandings, we talked about James having paid Sabrina, some photography projects, and a bit of web server that will be solved anytime soon. But once again, I can guarantee that everything is done in all transparency.
Yes, and then just to add to what Nico's breakdown of this, I do want to just jump back up real quick to the contractors, because I think people may have question as to why, if my contract ended, would I be getting paid $250 in the month of May? And that is because my contract had a 30-day clause in it that if my contract was to be terminated, I had to be given a 30-day notice. So my contract was officially, that notice was given to me at our last board meeting, which I think was on the 5th. And so the 30 days would be May 5th, and that's the prorated $250 for that month, which was the fairest thing that we figured to do. then, and actually, to be honest, that $250 should be, is going to go down. It's going to be less than that because for 5 days worth of work, it's not $250. So I apologize that that figure is not changed. And then as far as the outstandings for HOP, I know we went over that and you saw that that was actually, it's been accounted for in 2021 because that's the year that the expense was occurred, but it hasn't been paid. So it will come out of our total cash at the moment. And that's why. And it looks like somebody's asking what is HOP's outstanding. That is what we mentioned earlier, that the invoice number 5 that you saw on the contractors for Sabrina was all of the money that HOP had done an international transfer in order to pay Sabrina. And so we owe him the money back. So that'll come out of our current cash balance, but it's accounted for in 2021, if that makes sense.
And Marcy, Nico has his hand up. You have a comment on that, Nico? Do you?
It was briefly the line insurance. That was something critical, whatever the next step. Insurances, legal insurances and others are something that as well were not covered in 21. It's here in month May. Well, whatever happens, never forget for promoters and others.
So that's sort of like a projected future that there's going to be like an insurance sort of an expected insurance payment.
This regroup a couple of insurances that are basics for NGOs. Yes.
Right. Okay. Cool. Marcy, you want to keep going?
Sure. I have a message. I have to just fix something here that I see on Sabrina's is $183 for the month of April. Okay, so I just updated those expenses real quick. If you're watching it live, you probably saw them change in the consulting fees. Okay, so as far as expenses, I think that we can move on to the income. And this is where I'll also ask Nick to kind of jump in and any other board members that see fit because of the discussion in regards to the membership fees and what is going on with the PayPal accounts and what actions we need to take in order to remedy PayPal and come up with a good system for membership fees. So at this point, we have the actual figures in there up until this point, up until April. So each month, those are the numbers for what we've received in membership fees. And then you see it drastically go down to $600 a month. And that's a number that I think we just sort of mutually agreed on putting in there because we weren't sure how we were going to actually move forward with the membership platform. And then, of course, the different races that are potentially something that we could be involved in have been listed here by Nico. So I'll let him expand upon that.
Yeah, it's very, very much of a projection. Indeed, the idea was to switch the fee system to a support membership and hoping that month by month we are able to attract 20 times some love from some members, but not to have, at least for the season, a mandatory membership to join sanctioned event or not, and to have for 2023 a racing license ready. But this, well, will have to be discussed by whatever next board. The idea in the event services, there used to be a sort of ranking between national, continental, World Cup, World Qualifiers, and a World Qualifier Series and World Series. That will have to be defined, but this was the example that most especially if we invest in the timing system and the chips, it's not easy, but it's absolutely doable on the course of a year to recoup the money on the course of 2 or 3 years to maybe invest in a new timing system or a second timing system to have more systems traveling throughout the world. Most importantly, it's about training people and not having to fly people over the world with the timing system. That was the idea. That's why we don't have extra costs in that sense.
And
I would like, oh, sorry, the French bank. Would you like me
Yeah,
to...
no, go on, Nicholas.
Yeah, so the French bank, just to make it very clear and avoid more
Yes.
urban legends and misunderstandings. When the French association was closed, it was absolutely crucial because it is impossible at the opposite of Switzerland to run from abroad an association, a French association. So it was required to move this quickly. And the remaining money, since indeed there was not a bank account available, was put on a blocked account. It is a personal but blocked account. And this will be released to an organization with similar goals and ideally similar names, or at least, yes, similar goals. It's a little around 5,000 euros. This money never has been spent or lost, or is not on a personal account in the sense of a current account for people going on holidays. And yes, we have the insurance from Coma and Grégory Martin, who were in charge of creating the IDF in the first place, that this money at some point, whenever the bank account is available in Switzerland with the relevant association, to get this money transferred. But at the moment, we definitely can't budget this. It is on the balance sheet, but it can't be in the budget per se at the moment.
Okay, Marcy, are we continuing?
Yeah, all of that is correct. And I did see in the chat, and I know that Chris kind of answered it. Callie had a question as far as, how come or aren't the members all being charged at the same time? And the answer, just so everybody knows, is no, they're not. From the day that you sign up, your membership is good for 1 year from that date. So it always reoccurs on the same month and day that you originally created your IDF membership profile and paid your $30. And yes, it would be a lot easier to budget if everyone was charged at the same time, and maybe like given a window of, 2 weeks or something to go register and pay. But that's something that the new board, or as we move forward, needs to be figured out. And that's why we've, changed the numbers to 600 per month in the meantime, while that all gets figured out, a better system for membership dues. And then we can go to the summary. Sabrina, please. The summary just sort of gives you a graph. It shows you month by month what our income and our expenses were, whether or not we had a savings or not. When you see a negative, that means, or they call it, you're in the red, which means that you're operating below your budget, basically. And it is alarming when you see that, because what it's actually showing you, because you see an ending balance, it's showing you that because each one of those months, January, February, March, and May, our expenses exceeded our income from membership dues. It doesn't mean that our bank accounts are actually negative, because we still have money. We have a surplus of money that is that $40,000, but we then begin to eat into the surplus of operating cash. So that's pretty much that. So if the year continues as we have plotted, we would end up with $36,000 of our 42,000. And Nico, if you would like to expand on that, you can. Or if anybody has any questions.
Nico, you might be muted if you're saying anything.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's going back to the introduction and the question of whatever dissolution or impossibility to move forward. We are in the very exotic situation that we are not bankrupt. The money is there, and the money has been somewhat finally saved. This budget has to evolve. If a mandate is given to a future board on this budget, it is not to go any lower than this cash flow. The idea will be to keep for next year and next General Assembly about the same reserves, around 30,000, little more. And then to be able, if new projects have to come up to speed, to be able to generate as well incomes. And there are never bad ideas. There are only ideas that are not funded. I think it's a pretty good philosophy. So that is not where it's blocking, and there is good hope that, to make good use of these assets at some point.
Right. And I do want to go back real quick and clarify, when you look at the month of March and you look that it's, operated in the negative of, upwards of $8,000 negative, that's because that's the month that we had budgeted to repay that large sum to HOP for Sabrina's pay. So that really kind of sticks out as a sore thumb, but needs to be paid.
Okay, so that's the budget. Is that right? Are we done with the budget? I can't see YouTube questions. Sorry, but
I am. It looks like the YouTube questions are more in regards to what's going on with the membership list.
Sure, and I can speak to that. That the membership list. So we have people sign up on the website. So we have a website membership list. They then pay with PayPal. And unfortunately, the two aren't married. So we have two lists. We have people that have paid with PayPal, and we have a membership list, but we don't know what's what. And I think that it can be resolved. I have a few ideas of how we can do it, but it's not as simple as, this name to this name, because PayPal sometimes doesn't bring over the data, sometimes like the name, sometimes people use different email addresses. So we don't know exactly who is a financial member, but we will work that out. Nico, you have a point on that?
Yes, briefly, that's regarding Article 6 of the Constitution, if I'm right, so to maintain a member list. And then there is the detail, if I'm right, Article 9 or vice versa, which is that we have to have name, surname, and we have to have the address of the member. And that's where, in this case, it's been wrong for more than a year. But it creates, since this new Constitution, a big gap. So according to the law, you have to be able as a board to reach to your members by physical mail. That is the fallback options when the email is not working, the phone is not working, etc., etc. And in this case, this item of information has never been requested when registering by our members. So since we know that our mailing list is not working, not aligned with names, normally when we have 5 or 10% of emails rebounding, we should be able to reach these people by physical mail. And that is as well, according to case law, case of nullity. And this is extremely difficult, once again, to regain. I mean, especially with, a couple of hundreds, we're around north of 600, 650 members. So that definitely makes it a double task to realize.
So I'll just comment on what I can pull from PayPal. I can pull a CSV file, which is an Excel file from PayPal, and it can show me all of the transactions that have taken place, whether those are new memberships or canceled memberships. But the issue with that is that then it tells us that they have renewed their membership. It does tell us a membership name, but it doesn't give us email addresses. And so I think that's partly why it can't. There are certain parts that I guess Sabrina has been having a difficulty with matching that list with the list on of membership that is showing on the website. And I'm not sure about all the ins and outs of that, but I'm assuming that just because there's a name doesn't mean that it's actually the person who is the IDF member, because people's parents pay for their membership dues, different businesses and sponsorships pay for racers membership. So what's coming through PayPal isn't necessarily the member themselves. And how are we supposed to reconcile that?
Yeah, so it's a priority of the board. I'm looking at it, and we'll definitely report back to the membership. Aaron, you put your hand up.
Sure. Yeah, I just want to give some sort of extra context for this whole thing, because this is something that we have known to be an issue since the time that we were elected. We've known about people having double charged PayPal accounts, et cetera, the sort of questionable ethics of having people charge multiple times, charge on an annual basis without any kind of notification. These were things that we've been aware of since the time we were elected, and it was our intent to solve this with the bringing on of the web developer that we worked with, Megan Brillstone. She unfortunately had to end her contract for, due to, I would say, a number of reasons. One would be personal reasons, and the other would be the fact that simply the amount that we were paying her was not sufficient to be able to afford enough of her time for us to be able to solve the issue. She was operating at, $20 an hour, which was just simply not enough to cover her cost of living and actually, be able to have her on board. We were working to shift away from PayPal to Stripe, which would be a credit card processing fee, which would in fact be tied to billing addresses, shipping addresses, et cetera, and have all these things connected on a backend database. The PayPal account has been manually linked to the membership list for as long as the IDF has existed. And this has been a problem from the get-go. So I want to make sure that everybody's clear that this is a problem that we were aware of, and that unfortunately, due to the limits of spending in the last year, we were not able to solve, even though we made the attempt to do so.
Okay, and Nico, you've had your hand up. Do you still have a point? Or no? If you're talking, you're muted.
No. Sorry.
Okay, cool. No point. Okay.
Sorry. Can I say something? I cannot raise my hand.
Sure.
So I'm gonna try and contact Barry again. I did reach out to him, and he's the person that created the website, so he's very knowledgeable on how this works. So there wasn't just enough time for him to help me out before the General Assembly, but I know he's willing to help.
Sure.
And I partially was able to match some of the members, but that's not enough. We need to have an accurate number and link to members' ID before we do anything.
Yeah, I know. And I think that the board has to talk about this, and it's not going to get resolved on a live stream today. So there's an issue. We're aware of it. We're going to fix it. And where are we up to? Nico, you have something to say?
Briefly, so the information is there was an API, which is the problem. That's how you get PayPal to be synced with your website. That was just for the record to say that it was working at the beginning, and there's been some problem, most importantly, if I remember well, around 2015 or 16. But other than that, it's been working at some point with an API automatically.
Okay. Where are we up to? We've done the current accounts. Are we done? Can we end the live stream now? Or are there any more questions?
There are no more files to be shared, so I don't know if Nick wants to say something.
Oh, Nico, you've got something?
I do have a question now, which is how many members of the board are still on the board?
So as far as I'm aware, the original board is Zach, Aaron, Ty, Max, and Hop. So that's the 5 board members. And as Zach pointed out, and actually said it in better words than I can say, we are getting independent legal advice on the exact legal status of the board, where we go from there. If based on that, then as Zach said, he would like to hand it off to a new board. So if we can get some legal clarity of where we go, and then from there, it's, we're appointing new board members, and the current board is resigning, or, this gets wound up. But I don't think anyone here really wants to wind up IDF, but if that's what the members want, they'll get to vote on that. Does that answer the question?
That does open, sorry, that does open a certain number of questions. That definitely means that you are taking full responsibility for the moment of the current accounts. You are aware that these accounts will not be reconciled. I mean, something will be done about it, or because
so as far as I'm aware, Nico, as far as I'm aware, we've just done the accounts and the budget, and we've had the accounts audited. So we're all good, and we've got a budget. The board is not planning on spending any money. We're not planning on hiring anyone. Everyone's things. We're talking like we should get legal advice this week, and we'll have a where to go. We call, the legal advice is we have this another general assembly. It is, but this is going to be resolved in the next few weeks, if not this week.
I just want to be very clear. The audit is not positive. The audit is that the accounts have to be rejected, and the general discharge of the board as well. And the entirety of the documents within the accounts are just not legal. What does the board, because I think it's good. In terms of liability, I think it's reasonable, because currently it's your liability. And that's where I want to be really sure, because this will mean very important costs. If you go, I've sent solutions for cheap costs.
Nico, can I just ask you one quick question right now? Are you a lawyer?
Yeah. So no, precisely. That's why I'm just
no. It's a yes or a no.
You,
it's a yes or a no.
Okay, Hop, I'm helping you very much here, and I think I will help the membership.
So
no, I'm not a lawyer.
Okay,
I'm not a lawyer, and currently I'm not the one who almost ran the
going
association
to
in the
take legal
ground,
advice from a non-lawyer. So that's what we're saying.
Money for this. You need money for this, or you need help.
So we're going to get legal advice, and then we're going from there. Now, I don't think we've got any more.
How much money are you going to spend for the legal advice? How much?
So
because
that's up to the board, and that's a board decision.
For your liability, is for liability, for your personal liability, because we know that the accounts are not acceptable, and the accountancy and all the money that's been spent has been spent outside of any legal framework. You don't have to be a lawyer to know that when it's required 2 signatures and there's only 1, it is not legal. I'm not a lawyer for this.
So we're not going into that. We're not going into all this right now. Like
right now,
you're going to spend the
money of the association for your interest. I don't think it's a good idea.
We're not getting into this right now. Okay, so Aaron, do you have anything else? Are we, Marcy, are we good to wind up the meeting now?
I think we're all set. Thank you very much for taking this up.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Members, we'll be back to you, and yep, that's it. Can we end the live stream?
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.